All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Hope you all are having a good day so far. So, I saw this video pop up on my feed, and it is from one of my favorite channels. It's Old School B-Ball, and I'm sure you guys know it by now, those of you who are frequent flyers on this channel. Yeah, this one caught my interest because it's actually a story I don't really know about. So this is titled Charles Barkley versus Charles Oakley, the Feud documentary. Now, I'm not aware of them having a feud. The only thing that like immediately pops up in my mind is like Oak has always been MJ's what I want to say, his enforcer, you know? And he was in his playing days, and it seems like as friends throughout their, you know, as they're growing older, he's still kind of MJ's enforcer. So the fact that MJ and Charles Barkley had a falling out, I would understand if Oakley had, you know, felt a certain way about Barkley just out of loyalty to his buddy MJ. However, if this is talking about their playing days, then I actually don't really know what this is or what the root is. So I'm excited to find out. So let's settle back and get ready for an Old School B-Ball story here. Guys, I'm going to link the original video down below in the description like I always do. There you'll see a list of channel members. Shout out to channel members. I appreciate you guys. Yesterday's video was a lot of fun, but it got about 12 copyright claims from the NBA. Such is the life of the mind crime. Anyways, I appreciate you guys a lot. Thank you very much. And just in case this one gets copyright claim too, thank you again. I appreciate you all. Everyone, please like the video. It helps out a ton. And hit that hype button if you could as well. That helps out a lot as well, I think. Either way, I appreciate it. Guys, let's do this.
Today we are strapping in for a fascinating journey back to the NBA of the 1990s and late 80s. But we're bypassing the usual nostalgia trip. You know, the championships, the slam dunks, right? We are not talking about the highlights today, no. We're plunging into something far more intricate, something foundational. We are talking about the unwritten NBA code. And more importantly, what happens when that code, which, you know, it demands silence and discipline, collides violently with pure, unadulterated charisma and the need for relevance. The focus is one of the most persistent, enduring, and frankly, one-sided feuds in basketball history. Charles Oakley versus Charles Barkley. That's it. This is not like treating this conflict as like tabloid fodder. We need to understand why these two Charleses, who are, physically built so similarly and entered the league at the same time, ended up living by totally different rules. Sometimes NBA beef isn't about points or punches in the way you think. It is purely about a clash of codes. You had Charles Oakley, who is defined by enforcing a silent order in the paint, demanding respect through pain and loyalty. And then you had Charles Barkley, who made chaos and, you know, the open mic his entire brand. He demanded attention through performance and charisma. A conflict that's fundamentally philosophical. It is the silent code versus the open mic, the muscle versus the media, the bruise versus the banter. It is about unpacking how these two men, who shared so much on-court DNA at the start, became these diametrically opposed symbols of a culture war. A culture war that, you know, consumed the 90s NBA and you could argue persists even today in how we value professional athletes. So let's start the journey. This is where the beef wasn't physical yet, but it was already being called into existence by their completely opposite professional philosophies. Let's examine that common ground first. Both entered the league around at the same time. One is 1984 and other one is 85. The similarities are striking, aren't they? They really are, and I think they get overlooked because how famous their differences became later on. Both were forwards. Both were technically undersized for the brutality of the front courts back then. But they were built like, brick houses.
I agree.
Linebackers stuff into basketball jerseys. That is the image. They were both known for just out-muscling centers who were, half a foot taller than them. This was the era when you were expected to run a play through the elbow or the post on. like every possession. They were perfectly built for that grinding, physical aesthetic of the late 80s NBA. Perfectly. But as soon as you look beyond their physical stature, that is when the parallel timeline just fractures dramatically. And you can see the foundations of the future conflict being poured right there. Look at their origins. Oakley came from Virginia Union, a Division II HBCU program. His entire identity was forged in a place where, success wasn't guaranteed by talent alone. Pure grit. He sought to fight. His entire presence on the court was about establishing a physical dominance and enforcing unspoken rules that, went way beyond that official rule book. And Barkley, though.
Yeah, it is. And it's one of those guys that I'm sure if you're a New York Knicks fan, you love him. If you're not a New York Knicks fan, you probably hated him. And I was on that side, because whoever it was, whether it was the Bulls or the Suns or whoever was playing the Knicks, man, this dude Oakley's tough as nails, but he's I don't want to call him a bully, but he kind of has that way about him on the court. But I get what he's doing because it's psychological.
He arrived from Auburn, and even though he was undersized, he was already a phenomenon. And crucially, he was overconfident and already too loud. Yeah, that is the key. Barkley wasn't subtle. He had this innate star power that came out not just in his play, but in his whole performance. He was the kind of star who could drop, an incredibly efficient 40 points in a game. Mm-hmm. But his first act wouldn't be to quietly shake hands. It would be to find a microphone or just tell the nearest person exactly how easy it was. All while the opponent is still trying to figure out how they just completely torched. His value was instant. It was inherent. And it was also...
Look at Stockton. Why are you pushing him for, man?
On self-promotion. So right there, you immediately see the dynamic that predestinated this conflict. This analyzes frames Oakley as the ultimate supporting cast member, the protector. He protected the stars. He was Michael Jordan's early enforcer in Chicago. Literally the guy who hit people for him. His entire value system was defined by the security and the physical order he provided so that other people could shine. And Barkley, he was the star. But he was a star who constantly put himself in a harm's way, often meeting protection less from opponents and more, yes, from his own mouth. His constant commentary.
You know what? He just made me realize something weird. But when Charles was a player, he was in constant controversy for the things that he would say. And now that we're in a time where things are way more, words are way more sensitive than they've ever been. I am shocked that he really hasn't been in a lot of controversy, considering he works for the media full time and he has for 20 years or so at this point. I think at least probably even more than 20 years. And he's really not getting in trouble. And he's still just the same old Chuck speaking his mind and saying whatever the hell he wants. I wonder, it's almost like he's, at this point, he's so big. He's got a special card that you can just say whatever the hell you want and everybody knows. You're just Charles Barkley. It's okay. We'll move on,
Unfiltered persona, it created constant risk. So this contrast, the silent protector whose value comes from enforcing...
By the way, my mom used to always call him the bulldog because of it, the way his head looks and oh man, because he's he's not that tall and he's got this just picture a bulldog, guys. That's what my mom used to always say. Barkley, bulldog.
Boundaries versus the loud, self-aware target who constantly pushes them. That is what created a powder keg waiting for a spark. They were simply built to clash. It was inevitable. But hold on, if Barkley was constantly putting himself at risk with his mouth, wasn't he also backing it up with, historically great play? That seems to undermine Oakley's later claim that Barkley doesn't back it up. That is a crucial distinction. Oakley's code.
The problem is Chuck didn't win a championship, and Chuck knows that. It's unfortunate. He got close. MJ ruined it.
It wasn't about whether you were good at basketball. Barkley was undeniably great. It was about how you carried yourself. So it is about presentation, not the stats. Barkley was great, yes, but he verbalized his greatness. He made it a performance. In Oakley's world, if you talked about your own achievements, you hadn't earned the right to have others talk about them for you. It wasn't about the box score, it was about the humility and the respect shown to the opponent, to the game itself. Barkley violated the
the way Barkley self-promoted back then reminded me a lot of Muhammad Ali. And I wonder, I would love to ask him that question. Was any of that inspired by Muhammad? Because let's face it, Charles Barkley became a massive star because of that. And there was that time in around 93, 94, 92, 95, like that whole era where he was pretty much, I want to say, like the biggest basketball player in the NBA. Like you had Jordan, but Jordan was kind of out and then he was back in. But like Barkley was all over the media. Like the media was all over Barkley. They couldn't get enough of him. Kind of like in 96, 97, 98, the media couldn't get enough of Dennis Rodman. But so Barkley was pretty smart in that. I'm sure he made a lot of money during that time by literally just self-promoting himself.
Code of silence and humility, regardless of whether he won an MVP. So let's delve deeper into that code then, because this seems to be operating system that drove Oakley's entire career and ultimately this lifelong resentment toward Barkley. It is just play hard, defend your team, never talk more than you play. Respect for Oakley wasn't a verbal transaction at all. It was earned through pain and silence, that's it. This code is perfectly encapsulated by that key phrase, loyalty legacy. For Oakley, the ultimate professional value was unwavering commitment to the uniform, to the team, and to the absolute physical truth of the game. He wasn't playing for individual fame or, for future TV contracts. He was playing to enforce an institutional order and uphold his team's honor, no matter what the personal cost was. He wasn't just a player, he was the code guy on every single roster he was on, especially with the Bulls and those iconic Knicks teams. You hear names like Rick Mahorn in Detroit or Charles Oakley in New York, even Bill Laimbeer, the enforcers. These were the players who didn't just score points, they were the moral arbiters of what was acceptable behavior in the paint. They established the physical boundaries, and if you crossed them, consequences were immediate, silent, and awful pretty painful. Now contrast that with Barkley's completely opposite professional universe. His world revolved around starting the conversation first and then delivering the performance to back it up. He thrived not just on trash talk aimed at opponents, but on commentary directed at himself, at his own fame.
Okay. But where's the feud? There's a hell of a build-up. I'm looking for the feud now.
He actively courted the TV cameras that Barkley could have easily transitioned into professional wrestling during his career. Embracing the theatrics, the mic work, the deliberate creation of conflict, just for the entertainment, while Oakley, by stark contrast, was the bodyguard of outside the arena. He was the guy making sure the theatrics stay inside the ring and that any real-world transgression is met with real-world consequences. So when Barkley, especially as his fame grew and he moved into commentary, started taking verbal shots at the Knicks, at Oakley's old teammates, at the whole old guard, Oakley didn't process that as sports analysis or, friendly banter. To the code guy who valued silence and action above everything else, that was a violation. It was an undermining of the moral hierarchy that Oakley believed he was responsible for maintaining. And this distinction is so vital for you, the listener, to grasp. In Oakley's reality, words had concrete weight and intent. If you issued a verbal challenge, you were issuing a physical challenge, and you had better be ready to pay the price. But Barkley was already operating on this whole other plane of media and entertainment where verbal shots are just part of the show. They are often designed to be laughed off. The Sopranos is the perfect analogy. It really is. It perfectly encapsulates that feeling of being betrayed by a world that is changing around you. It does. If you view Oakley as Tony Soprano specifically, Tony struggling to reconcile his old world code-based morality with the modern world, legalized business, therapy, all that external scrutiny. You understand his dilemma. Oakley is a man living strictly by the rules of the street.
Great show, by the way.
Or in this case, the unwritten rules of the paint that the rapidly modernizing NBA just doesn't agree to or respect anymore. He is desperately trying to hold on to an old way of life that is just fast becoming obsolete. So what are the specific rules of the street in Sopranos that parallels Oakley's code? Well, it is the value system. Tony's world values loyalty above everything else. It distrusts outsiders. It prioritizes respect through fear and physical presence. And it sees transparency or self-reflection as a dangerous weakness. Oakley's code is identical. Loyalty to the team is non-negotiable. Silence protects a group. Physical toughness is the only true currency. So when the NBA started demanding image control, marketing campaigns, and all that external commentary, it was like asking Tony Soprano to start filing taxes or going to therapy. It felt like a fundamental betrayal of everything he stood for. And Barkley, in this analogy, in the perfect foil, Chris Rock. He's the charismatic, punchline-driven showman, unstoppable with a mic. Barkley generates his power not from fear or physical enforcement. So the tragedy of the conflict then is that it's not really malicious. No. Oakley feels fundamentally and personally disrespected by Barkley's constant chatter and his embrace of the media age. But Barkley, he is so entrenched in his role as the necessary entertainer, the truth teller, that he genuinely doesn't even realize he's crossed a line that matters to Oakley. It is an honest philosophical disagreement about what professional integrity even means. Tragically dressed up as this long-running basketball grudge, and Oakley delivered the perfect line to sum up his ethos, like, respect doesn't need a camera. That is his whole worldview in 5 words. If you truly respect it, you don't need a broadcast. You simply are respected, and people, opponents, teammates, they govern their actions based on your presence. And Barkley's fame, which was built almost entirely on the camera and the mic, was, by Oakley's definition, less respectable. The irony, of course, is that as the league shifted, the cameras began to dictate who got respect. The stars who commanded largest audiences commanded the largest checks and the most influence. And this was the shift that caused Oakley this profound professional trauma. He felt his world slipping away, and Barkley was the loud, laughing, eloquent face of that revolution, which sets the scene perfectly for the definitive confrontation, the slap heard around the lockout.
Okay, here we go.
The context leading up to the slap, which happened in the late 90s, is just paramount. By this time, the seismic cultural shift in the NBA was well underway.
So is it the lockout in 98 then, I believe, 1998?
He wasn't just observing the change anymore, he was being systematically rendered obsolete by it. What were the tangible physical rule changes or cultural shifts that were systematically devaluing Oakley's specific skill set? So late 90s marked the start of the NBA's deliberate move toward an image polish and freedom of movement. Historically, enforcers like Oakley thrived under rules that tolerated hand-checking and allowed for immense physical disruption of offensive players. You could really put a body on someone, right? But post Michael Jordan's retirement and return, and certainly by the late 90s lockout, the league realized its product was best served by allowing its stars to shine unobstructed. So the subtle changes in officiating.
The timing is always interesting, isn't it? Michael Jordan's out. We need some flash. We need some highlights. We need some stats. All right. Let's ease up on the defense. You know, let's give the offensive player a lot more freedom of movement and less contact and all that good stuff.
The increase.
But the irony is, though, I still believe that there wasn't nearly as much contact in the 2000s, but all the way up until about 2010, it was still, I could still stomach it. You know, yeah, there was a lot of tic-tac fouls, but nothing compared to what it is now, but also way more than there was in the 90s.
Focus on foul calls for simple contact, the eventual erosion of hand checking. These were all aimed at increasing scoring and making the game smoother.
Yeah, but you won't. I mean, if Jordan was the GOAT and he was averaging 30 a game, well, Now with these new rules, we can get some other guys averaging 30 a game. Let's do it. I see what they're trying to do, but I think it backfired because then it was like it makes no one sorry for the hiccups. I don't know what's going on with me. It made it made the numbers themselves not special anymore, And now everything needs context because we talk about the different eras.
They also effectively nurtured the physical deterrents like Oakley. His entire job was being legislated out of existence. Precisely the role he defined, the physical protector who enforced consequences, was being systematically written out of game. He was a relic before the 2000s even began. And this deep-seated frustration over the demise of the old-school ethos, that is what set the stage for the highly charged confrontation in that lockout meeting. Yeah, the moment arrived during a serious, high-stakes NBA Players Association meeting during the 98-99 lockout. So the players are discussing millions of dollars, the future structures of their salaries, the financial stability of the whole league. It is a very serious, very tense environment, and in the middle of all this, Barkley was being Barkley, talking a lot, probably filling the room with his typical blend of self-aware controversy and unfiltered opinion. And Oakley, who was already stewing in the frustration of a world that no longer valued his toughness, and with years of philosophical disagreement just boiling over, he reached his breaking point. He stood up and slapped him. It wasn't a brawl, it wasn't a fight. The ultimate silent physical enforcement of the code, delivered in a moment of extreme professional attention. And the simplicity of Oakley's justification, as he quoted publicly, is just classic. Yeah, I slapped him, he talked too much. It is so perfect, it wasn't about the content of Barkley's speech or economic policy he was discussing or even a personal insult. It was a failure to abide by the code's fundamental rule: never talk more than you play. The action was the consequence for the lack of silence. The slap heard around the lockout. And it is truly the perfect metaphor. Barkley talks himself into trouble, and Oakley enforces the consequences. That is his method of operation, even when nobody asked for that enforcement in a union meeting.
Okay, by 1998, Charles did talk way more than he talked way too much. And I think he would admit that now, because whenever he refers to his last years in the NBA, he's embarrassed. He basically he's on the side of I should have just retired, because going out there and playing like trash like that was really, really embarrassing, and it was really hard to do. But the thing is his body slowed down, but his mouth didn't slow down at that time. So, when he was winning like an MVP and he was competing for a championship here in Phoenix, I get it. Yeah, man, go ahead. Talk it up, live it up, have fun, live in the moment. But when you fell off and you got fat, and you were in Houston, that was time, man. It was time to slow down the trash talk because your body can't back it up. But yeah, that's just the way I see things. You only talk as much trash as you can carry out.
Here's where the psychological complexity of this feud really shines through, because we're talking about two vastly different reactions to the exact same event. They handle it completely differently, and it reflects their core values completely. Barkley's reaction seems to have been a simple shrug. He is described as joking about Oakley afterwards, never really appeared angry or like he was intent on seeking revenge. He views the world, and apparently a sudden slap in a union meeting, as just chaos that he can easily absorb and turn into a good story. But Oakley, decades later, he is still referencing the feud, still simmering, and his quote, "I probably got something for him next time I see him." That longevity of resentment is just profoundly revealing. To Barkley, it was a moment, a funny anecdote. To Oakley, it was a permanent, unresolved wound. Oakley wasn't just striking Barkley the man. I think compellingly that he was slapping the idea that talking gets you paid more than toughness. He was striking out against
now, was that intentional having what was the order here?
Hold striking on. Barkley the man. I think
going from OJ?
Compellingly that he was slapping the idea
the gelatin jigglers.
idea that talking gets you paid more
It's
than...
sad growing up, isn't it? Man, I was a big O.J. Simpson fan, not only from football, but from the Naked Gun series. And then Bill Cosby, I mean, like, I grew up on the Cosby Show. Like my parents had watched like his comedy specials, but they said it was too graphic for me to watch. But I don't like the Cosby Show was just good family. Man, I grew up on that stuff. That's all I'm gonna say. I didn't grow up and then like all these things happen. It's like, man, you got OJ and the Bronco and the glove, and then the Cosby with the stuff I ain't talking about on YouTube that you all know about. Anyways.
Toughness. He was striking out against the fundamental...
Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes went to prison or jail or whatever for not paying taxes. Tax evasion. Who would have guessed?
Of the NBA tour, celebrity and commentator.
Charlie Sheen.
The psychological cost.
Charlie Sheen is sober these days. He's actually looking really healthy and really great.
So clear. Oakley was reacting to the painful realization that his entire value system, respect earned through silence and physical labor, was being systematically devalued by the league he had dedicated his life to. The league was actively leaving the Oakleys behind and replacing them with slicker media personalities, exactly like the one Barkley eventually became on TNT. The celeb was desperate physical protest against the future. So the longevity of Oakley's grudge is a direct manifestation of his...
Okay. This video and the timing of it is making me realize something that happened. When Kobe was supposed to be the next Jordan, Kobe was not that media friendly. So this whole premise of everyone who's media friendly is getting way more attention, and it makes sense too. That doesn't play into Kobe's benefit. Kobe was a silent assassin, so he didn't talk that much about what he was going to do or what he accomplished. All he wanted to do was go out there and play, and then he'll talk about the game, But he was very serious the entire time, very unsimilar to Charles Barkley, who's very loud and goofy, and then Shaquille O'Neal as well, who was a face of the NBA, who is the same thing, very loud, very opinionated, very goofy at the same time and playful. And then in comes LeBron James. You got LeBron or you got Melo. Melo never really liked the media. LeBron embraced it. He embraced the whole thing, and he had cameras all over him all the time, and he was performing the entire time. So when the NBA was picking who they're going to move forward with as far as the face of the league, I think I'm seeing the psychology now a little bit of why they did what they did. I 100% think they made a mistake. Now that they chose the wrong dude, obviously, because we can see how it plays out now here in 2025. But back in 2003, it would make sense because LeBron James was very media friendly back then. He was goofy, he talked a lot. And I guess I come from a different world. So the idea of bragging about something you haven't even accomplished, the not one, not two, not three, that kind of crap, that made me want to throw up. But I guess there are a lot of people that is very appealing to, even though it's just the opposite of how I was raised, and how I still like to live my life, which is get it done first, then I can tell people about what I did. You know what I mean? And that's if I want to tell anybody about it, it's going to be after I get her done. It ain't going to be when I'm just fathoming something, I'm thinking about doing something. To be fair, though, Charles Barkley did a little bit of that when he was here in Phoenix. He kept saying, we're going to win a championship. I'm going to lead us to a championship. He got us close, but he didn't deliver it. And, I love Charles Barkley for getting us that close, but, probably should have done it. Probably should have won that championship, and then all the stories can come out where it's I knew all along we're going to win. Anyways, this is a long rant. But this video did one thing for me. It did open my eyes a little bit to why what happened in 2003, moving on, happened. especially after what happened with Kobe, because that was right around the same time where the allegations happened and all that. So it was like, well, the NBA just turned their back on him because they're like, oh, that's bad for business, you know. But anyways, just my 2 cents. It just kind of like, it's snapped in my head from what he's talking about here.
Ability to reconcile with that professional shift. And since Barkley didn't react like a rival who played by the code, he reacted like a celebrity shrugging off a slight. The debt remained eternally unpaid in Oakley's mind. Barkley's continued success and laughter just dropped salt into the wound of his own personal obsolescence. This divide just cemented itself in the late 90s.
Okay,
and
yeah, Houston Rockets, Barkley did deserve to get a slap.
The 2000s, Barkley is framed as one of the very first athletes to truly own his media persona. He was way ahead of the curve. He transitioned seamlessly from a star player to star commentator. Yeah. He said whatever he wanted, courted controversy, and then just laughed it off. He proved he wasn't just a basketball player. He was an entertainment product built on this unfiltered, genuine truthfulness. And this division, the rise of personality and professional relevance over hard-fought principle, is
Charles Barkley also proved to me that cancel culture is not real. Him and Dave Chappelle, both of them, well, not that it's not real. It's only real if you buy into it. So you can, if you're like Barkley and Chappelle and you don't have social media, how are they going to cancel you? You just keep working. You just keep doing what you're doing, and you let everyone on social media freak out, crap themselves and say all kinds of terrible things about you. But then they're going to move on to the next dude in a couple of days. The only way to keep it prolonged is to engage with it. But if you're not even on the platforms, say Twitter or, whatever, like Facebook or any of this stuff, you're not even on there reading this stuff, then who cares? And they only want engagement out of you. So if you don't give them any engagement, they move right on. Remember Dave Chappelle got canceled a couple of times a few years ago? Didn't matter. He just kept doing what he's doing. Barkley's probably been canceled 1,000 times. He don't care. He just laughs it off and he keeps going. He keeps doing what he's doing, and people keep watching. So yeah, it's interesting how it works out.
Elevated Oakley's resentment from a minor locker room beef into this almost mythic philosophical conflict. The word he defended just stops making sense. He goes from being league's trusted physical protector to being its relic. His continued verbal jabs at Barkley became his necessary outlet for this broader existential frustration with the state of the league. It's like Maximus in the film Gladiator. It's so good. Maximus was the ultimate man of the code, fiercely loyal to the true power, driven by the principle and honor, but he was ultimately betrayed by the shifting whims of the new theatrical regime.
Yeah, that weasel.
Right? Maximus was a man out of time, seeking justice according to a code the modern world didn't even recognize. And Barkley in this analogy is perfectly cast as the showman in the arena. He is the character who understands the power flows not from merit or physical code, but from spectacle. Commodus needs the crowd. He needs the applause. He needs the controversy. Barkley needs the ratings. He needs the mic. He needs the authentic and unfiltered chatter. Both men were undeniably powerful in their chosen domains, but they operated under opposite truths.
Oh.
And that is precisely why the feud has never really died. The beef was never about determining who was right or wrong. No, it was about two vastly different versions of the NBA colliding into one another during the late 90s transition, and the fascinating synthesis is that both men ultimately won, just in different ways. Oakley kept his respect, and Barkley kept his relevance.
Dang. That was a deep video. I really wasn't expecting that. So the real rivalry then happened more off the court than it did on the court, it seems. What I'm getting out of this is there was a slap on the court, and I have a vague memory of it, but I don't recall, if we saw it on this video. I might have looked away for a second or something and missed it, but it seems like it was really just a battle of words then, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I'm more of in the camp of like an Oakley kind of character, where I like to do my thing, not self-promote, and just like if it's good, then other people will tell me. If it's not, then whatever, you know. Or if it's something a little more personal, like I do with like music a lot of times these days, and I really always have. Then it's just up to how it makes me feel, and if it makes me feel the way I was aiming for, then I call it a win, you know. But outside of that, like I'm never like pushing stuff to get approval, you know. And yeah, so yeah, I'm more on that silent end, more like Oakley. I guess I would say like closer to a Larry Bird, you know. Like I like Larry Bird's personality because he had all the talent and all the accomplishments of, you know, I mean, he lived up to the expectation of the Great White Hope, you know, literally. Like we talk about the chosen one for LeBron and that being pressure. But Larry Bird had to deal with a lot of pressure too. There's a lot of players like this. He came into Boston as the Great White Hope, the white man who's going to turn around everything in Boston. And guess what? He ended up doing it, you know, but he did it. And then he chilled. He wasn't talking trash. He wasn't acting like, you know, he wasn't self-promoting like a Muhammad Ali, you know, saying I'm the greatest in the world, or, you know, like it's WWF or something like that. He just kind of like went out there, did his job, let everybody talk. And, you know, his job was not to talk. His job was to play. That's the way he saw it. And I respect that. Let the media talk. I'm going to go out there and focus on the thing that I'm paid to do. And Barkley kind of did blur those lines. And now seeing where we are today with active players, with podcasts, you know, like LeBron James, Podcast P, Draymond, and I'm sure there's others. Hell, I think I even saw Austin Reeves on there, and I like Austin Reeves, but dang, man, it's, you know, like, I just don't like it. That's all. I'm just gonna bottom line it. I don't like it. You're paid millions and millions of dollars to go out there and focus on basketball. So go play, man. Go focus on that. You know, do a podcast when you're done, when you're retired, or like if you're injured or something for a season. Do that for a season so you have an outlet. But the second that like you're out there playing again, stop it. You know, you don't have to be media and the entertainer at the same time. The media is supposed to critique the entertainer. You can't be both, but I guess nowadays you can. And I think Charles Barkley kind of opened the doors for that. Whether he realized it or it was intentional or not, probably not, because he had no idea where this was all going to go. But it did kind of start there now, didn't it? Anyways, I think with that, I'm out of here. It was an interesting video, guys. Go check out Old School B-Ball's channel. Link is down below. And if you happen to watch this, my friend, great video. Great video. Leave a comment. Say hello. It's always good to hear from you, man. Anyways, I'm heading out. Guys, like the video if you could. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Hit that subscribe plus if you want to support my channel. And most importantly, it's to be water, my friends.